Nick Bester, how's it?
Hey, Roscoe, what's up?
Thank you so much for letting me into your house this evening, and welcome to the Dice House Monday podcast.
Thank you.
How are you
Excited to
feeling
chat to you.
today?
Good. I felt better. I was at the cricket yesterday. With big celebrations like that comes a price to pay.
Yeah,
But it's all part of the balance. So,
absolutely.
if you just try and live a full-time athlete life in a way and don't get that balance, then I stop enjoying running as much. So, yeah, a little bit under the weather, but we keep it real. And, looking forward to chatting to you today.
I love that. How was Lord's? Because I'm going tomorrow, so I'm excited.
Nice.
I've never been.
Really?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Really?
I assume you're a big sport fan.
Big.
And it is a final, and tomorrow is like D-Day. By the time you listen to this podcast, you'll know what happened.
Yeah.
So it's South Africa versus Australia. Australia have the upper hand.
I saw they were 77 for 7 today.
They were 77 for 7, but they ended up making like
Did they get some runs at the
30
end?
for 8.
Oh, wow.
They put on a 40 run partnership. I think Stark got stuck in, and that hurt us. But in any case, Lords is amazing. Like, it's such a good vibe.
Yeah.
There's, it's probably like 80% South African. So when SA do well, it lights up properly.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
And one cool thing about Test match cricket is that you get to catch up with people. It's like a football game and a rugby game. It's intense and it's awesome. But a day at Test match cricket is like, it's relaxed. You can soak it up. You can catch up with people. So that's pretty cool.
I'm glad you said that because I was worried that the game was going to be over by the time I got there yesterday. So that partnership actually made it better for us tomorrow.
Yeah. Tomorrow's the day.
The penultimate, yeah.
It couldn't have lined up better for tomorrow. So enjoy.
Well, Nick, I mean, if I look around, you're definitely a runner and a successful one. The medals are unbelievable. Why don't you take us back before running? Tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from.
Sure. So pre-running days, I worked at a corporate bank called Investec. I'm sure you're familiar with Investec.
Absolutely, the zebra.
So I worked at Investec South Africa for about 5 or 6 years.
Where in South Africa?
In Sandton.
Okay.
But I was always a keen runner. Not always a keen runner. When I met my wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, I didn't run much before her. So I did one season of 800 meters in school. I went to Cares King Edward VII School in Johannesburg.
Right.
And I was very competitive. I was a competitive sportsman, mainly tennis was my thing. But I didn't enjoy running. I was at boarding school and running was a punishment for you. So it was never fun. That's why when I see kids watching the YouTube video, I'm just like, this is awesome. Like when I was a kid, I was not watching running YouTube videos. I was up to no good and running was a punishment. So it's so cool to see them engaging with that. That motivates me the most. But sorry, I'm digressing here. So I played tennis in school and then I did one season of 800 meters, mainly because my tennis captain at the time, I wanted to beat him in running. And it was like, we had inter-house and I did beat him. Surprisingly, he was a runner before. And I was like, wow, is that just because I'm competitive or am I actually decent at running? But I wouldn't train. I would if we had 10 times 400s at training, I would do 7 of them. I didn't like the training and I wasn't passionate about running.
Yeah.
But I was decent at it for one season. And then I stopped.
You had the physique almost. Well, like the genetic look, tall.
Yes.
Long legs, kind of.
Kind of, yeah. So I obviously had a little bit of maybe natural talent, not much, but I definitely performed well relative to the training I did compared to other people. But I was no standout. You wouldn't have looked at that runner and said maybe one day they can do a sub 220 marathon type thing. That was a no-go. And like I said, I didn't really enjoy it at the time because at boarding school when it was a punishment, it was like you had to run somewhere, do something running routes.
That's really interesting you say that because I interviewed Chris Taylor and he's an endurance athlete and he said the same thing. It was a punishment to run in the past and he wondered if that had a mental psyche on all of us today on why people don't want to run because it was given to us as a punishment when we were younger.
Maybe. I think running now in general, it's trending more. A lot more people are doing it
100%.
and it's a lot more fun. Back then, there was no park run when I was in school type thing. Now there's junior park run. People are getting competitive. You can track your results.
But is it happening in South Africa?
I think it's...
So was it locationally that we weren't getting park runs? Because I don't think you got a park run in South Africa.
You do. You can now, obviously. But
Okay.
back then, when I was in school, I don't think it was around.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a thing, right? And obviously, growing up in school, there's a lot more other sports that's a lot more popular than running, let's say. So fast forward after school, I lived the normal student life, let's say, and I probably binged a little bit more than normal students would. So I'd have fast food maybe 4 times a week. I smoked from the age of like 18 till 31. I'm 35 now.
That's exactly the same as me.
Really, eh?
That is literally to the T.
Okay.
I quit a year ago.
Okay, so you're going to break sub 220 in the marathon. Yeah.
But we all do it. I mean, we
that's
all
what
do
making
it.
the habits.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always keep things real. And
Where did you go to university?
I went to university at Tux in Pretoria.
Okay.
And then not grew up, but then sort of like lived in Midrand area, Kyalami, Baloo area. And then we came across to the UK. So I did, just to rewind a little bit more. So then I met my wife, or Taryn, she wasn't my wife at the time, at university in Pretoria. We went to a co-ed, a mixed residence. And I was 23 at the time. And no, sorry, I was even younger. I was 20 at the time. And her parents did an ultra marathon in South Africa, Comrades Marathon. I'm sure you're familiar with it.
Yeah, it was just the other day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was literally 4 days ago. For those of you that don't know, it's a 90-kilometer ultra marathon in South Africa.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would party quite hard. I would drink hard. I was, eating fast food often, and it was like a normal thing as a student, right? So I wasn't very healthy. I wasn't doing cardio. I was into like gym as you were back then. So I was
For the aesthetics.
Yeah, so I was probably like maybe about 87 kilograms. Now I'm 75 or so.
Wow.
So I was about 13 kilograms more, but
that's heavy. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, for sure. I wasn't massive, but I was like, I wasn't lean. Put it that way. I was normal, let's say, for a student.
Yeah.
And then we supported them at Comrades Marathon, and we had to wake up at like 3 a.m, and it was like a mission because I only went to bed at like 1 a.m. in those days. And it was almost like, I was like pissed off that we had to wake up so early to go and watch this race type thing, And we kind of like rolled out of bed, went to support them. And then as soon as like the first runners came past in that race, it was like such an amazing feeling. I got goosebumps from head to toe. And I just thought it was so incredible what these guys were doing. I hadn't really thought about it until that point, because unless you're a runner, if someone tells you you're running, 10Ks, 40Ks, 90Ks, you don't really know. You don't know what's quick. You don't know what's slow. You can't really like
gauge. Yeah.
But I think because I was there witnessing it, I was like, this is incredible. Like, these people are amazing. There's a helicopter in the air. The vibes were amazing.
Yeah. It hooks you.
And I was like so inspired by that day. And Taryn was as well. We were 20. We said, okay, we're going to do it in 4 years' time. So it was 2010. We said in 2014, we're going to do Comrades. And we didn't run for the next like 3 years. But we stuck to our word. We're like, I promise you, 4 years comes around like this.
Did you say in 4 years you want to do a Comrades?
Yes. So in 2010, we said in 4 years' time.
Okay.
We weren't ready to commit the next year.
Okay.
We were 20 and partying.
That's a good gap. Yeah.
But we were like, 4 years gives us enough time.
Sure.
And then after 3 years, we're like, we got 1 year left. We want to take this. We want to try and get into good shape for it. So yeah, started training pretty much like maybe 9 months before the race. So this was when I was 23, and did my first marathon when I was 23, Kaap se Hoop. So it's a downhill marathon in November, and Comrades is in the June. And I hadn't trained properly for it like at all. Like, I mean, I wasn't educated at the time, so I didn't know what to do. And
you didn't have a coach or anything?
No, but I always backed myself. But I was like, I think I did one 30K run and one maybe 25K run and one half marathon, and that's it. So I wasn't going in prepared, and not on top of like nutrition. I was like, it's a marathon, like we can get through it.
How hard can it be? Yeah.
So I think people kind of expected me. They're like, in your first one, what's a good time for your first one? They're like, maybe like 4 hours is pretty good. So I had no clue. I was like, okay, cool. Like maybe sub 4 would be pretty good. And that gun went, and I'm actually quite competitive, and I got quite competitive, and I ran pretty hard the first half. And then at like 30Ks or 32Ks, I hit a massive wall with the last 10, obviously having not trained. And I was like chafing everywhere. I was in the world of pain. I'll never forget that last 10Ks. And it was like, I just had to find something and fight with all I had. And I was in such a bad place. But I finished in 3 hours 17.
Okay, wow.
And it surprised a lot of people that were like sub
Not
4.
expecting
Even
it,
me,
yeah.
I was like, I thought I'd maybe go sub 4, 3:17. Like, okay, it seems pretty good. And that sparked something in me. I was like, okay, if I didn't really train for this, what can I do if I trained harder? And here I am sitting in this chair in front of you, literally 12 years later, thinking like, if I train a little bit harder, what can I do?
Yeah. You're still thinking
Like
that,
over
yeah.
a decade of marathon running. But honestly, that's still my mindset. I'm like,
Yeah.
if I just train a little bit harder, a little bit smarter, what can I do? So obviously, yeah, 2:19 in the marathon distance now. I always said I wish I'd run 3:19 in my first one. And now I knocked off an hour and 2:19.
Yeah.
But now I'm kind of like got it stuck in my mind. Like I want to knock off an hour from my first one to my most recent.
But 2:19 is quite an accomplishment. I mean, how many people get sub 2:20? Is that quite a landmark for runners?
Yeah, for sure. So like, for me, it was a massive one. I had 7 attempts, so it was like the weight of the world off me once I cracked it, because I knew I could, but I was coming within seconds, like minutes every time. So it was so amazing to finally crack it. But sub 2:20, it's not elite. I would say it's sub-elite, but it gets you like elite entries into a lot of marathons. It gets you like some nice like invites into marathons. Look, the world's getting faster and more people are running sub 2:20s for sure.
Yeah.
The more like people are getting educated, people are better trained, nutrition and stuff like that. So I would say sub 2:20 now is
Even the
probably
shoes.
not as as prestigious as it was 5 years ago, let's say. But to give you an idea, I think I came around 100. I think I came top 100 at Berlin Marathon.
That's crazy, because one of my questions to you today was like what the difference is between elite amateurs and like elite pros. Like there's still such a big gap. That's crazy, because you running and training every day, you got the nutrition, and like there's still such a big gap.
Yeah. You know what would be a good way to look at it is I posted a video literally 4 days ago of me running with an elite. So I'm a sub-elite, I would say.
Okay.
Me running with... So a lot of people think I'm elite because maybe like they see on content, and I don't think a lot of elite people share the level of content that I do, let's say.
Right.
So maybe one of the quicker people sharing content out there. So in the everyday runners world, I'm kind of seen as, sub 2:20 might be elite. But there's a 10-minute difference between, sub-elite and elite, and that's massive.
Yeah.
And in that video, I wanted to like portray it like, guys, this is what I look like versus like a pro.
Yeah.
So Jack's a 13:34 5K runner. I'm a 14:34 5K runner. And it's like chalk and cheese. Like he's a minute quicker than me, which is 12 seconds a K, which is massive, right? In a 5K. But if you look at the world's best, or like the world's best, and they're not too much faster, but like the world record is a minute faster than that.
I was going to say, what is the world record for 5K?
I think the world record is 12:36 basically. So, I mean, I stand to be corrected. It's around there. So the world record's a minute faster than him, which is not bad. He's within a minute of the world record 5K. But, there's a lot of professional runners running sub 13.
But I got a stat on that actually.
Okay.
So you getting sub 15 is 0.004% of total finishes in the UK parkrun.
Amazing.
So that is like a crazy stat, because 8 million people run parkruns. Like you say, they've become so popular now. And only fewer than 3,000 runs have been sub 15.
Amazing.
That's a cool stat.
Yeah, thanks. I don't know. It's very, very cool. And I'm so drawn to parkrun.
I've seen that. It's fascinating. But obviously that's your run, the 5K. So like to have a competition set up where you can use your competitive edge and have a go and have people pushing you by them running next to you. To just have that on the weekend on the go, it must be so nice.
Definitely. You know what? If I'm driving around on a Saturday morning or even jogging around parkrun time, like you see the whole town flock towards parkrun. There's like 600-700 people out there getting active. Majority of them are trying to be the best version of themselves, trying to, push themselves, get uncomfortable, get a good time. If they're taking it easy, of course, that's fine. But I'm just like, it's such an amazing concept. So like for me, I've always said, results will be just a bonus. Like running a kit's become my life and my job now, but I run for the personal fulfillment and the mental and physical benefits that you get. So I think if you start depending on results, that's dangerous and it takes the enjoyment out. So I think that's where like the parkrun concept for me is perfect. Obviously, on the one hand, there's a couple of people that are like, why would you go and race a parkrun? But there's the majority of people thinking like, why wouldn't you push yourself at a parkrun? And in the UK, most of the courses are certified routes. So they go on your Power of 10 profile, which is your athlete profile. So, you're probably not going to hit the levels as you would in a race with competition. But I'm like, what better way to start a Saturday morning than go and push hard in parkrun? It's awesome.
No, absolutely. And you said that running's become your life. So one of the big questions I had was, how did you make that transition from the corporate life to running full time? And it's probably quite a long process to answer.
No, I'll summarize it for you. It's a question I get asked a lot. I think there's a lot of people in the corporate world, passionate runners, maybe coaching a few people and wondering like, how is it done? When do you know is the right time and stuff like that? So yeah, in my case,
I'm one of those people.
Okay, good. No, it's cool. And I love sharing it with people. But the main thing is you've got to be realistic about things as well, and you've got to reduce the risk. Like you can't just decide I'm going all in, and you haven't set things up in such a way, because it's risky business. And for me, I struggled a lot in the beginning. So, like I said, in the corporate world, I worked in the corporate world for 10 years. But I was a very keen runner. I was running comrades. I was running silver medals at comrades, and I worked down to like a 2-hour sub 2:30 marathoner. So I was a 2:29:50 marathoner in the corporate. So people knew me as like a runner and wanted running tips. I felt bad for those around me, because people would just come and talk running to me all day long, and I loved it. I mean, I can talk running all day long. I was a mortgage bank, and I wasn't as passionate about rates and mortgages and stuff like that. But in any case, so what happened was I started helping a person specifically within my bank, and she wanted to pay. She was going to pay a running coach, so she wanted to pay me to do a plan for it. And I was like, don't be stupid. Looked at her training, and I was like, you're not doing any structure. Like, she's running the same route at the same time the whole time. I'm like, it's a no-brainer. It's so obvious. Like, do this on this day. And she started following that, and she really started improving. And then she told her buddies, or they saw her progress. And then a couple of her friends got in touch with me, and I helped them as well, because I was like, I enjoyed it. It was like fun, and I had my full-time job, which was keeping me busy. And the running keeping you busy. And I was like, this is fun. It wasn't work for me. So I was doing it like on Excel spreadsheets at the time. And then because they weren't training to structure before, and now they're training a lot smarter than they were, snapping out their comfort zone, they were seeing results quickly. And then their friends started getting in touch as well. So it spread. Like, by the time I helped my first person till the time I was helping 30 people was like probably about 5 months.
Wow.
5 to 6 months. So very quick. But it got to a stage at 10 people, I was like, I'm enjoying this. I'm loving it so much, but now I need to start charging, because it's taking away from my corporate job. So I started charging. People wanted to actually pay. Like, they wanted to pay. So I was like, charge super low fees. But I was like, at least then I can justify my time spending it on it, and then I'll do a bit of a better job. And then that happened, and then I got to 30 clients. So I was, charging 30 clients a very small fee, let's say.
Just personal bank account, like Investec didn't know, just side hustle.
Yeah. I mean, Investec might have known. I think I was pretty open about with my team that I was, keen to interact.
But you didn't have like a company incorporated and
no,
that type of thing?
Not at all. No, and it was always after hours and stuff like that. So, my main job was my main job. But to be honest, so at 30 clients, I was struggling to then do my main job properly, because it's demanding, and you can't do both well, especially in the beginning when you don't have experience. It takes longer in the running coaching world, especially when you're working off spreadsheets and not, like Training Peaks that is a lot more efficient. So anyways, then COVID hit, and it was kind of like a decision at that point in time, like, do I go full time into running coaching now, or do I stay in the corporate? And it was super risky for me, because I'd only done corporate for 10 years. I didn't know any other. And like, to take a risk like that is huge. But my company offered like a redundancy package, where you get X amount of months pay if you leave. Then I think they were trying to reduce staff. I think at the start of COVID, people kind of thought this is going to be here for a while. Like, and I was like, this is my golden ticket. Like,
you can get paid for 3 months while you try to start something
exactly.
else. Yeah.
So I was like, even if I don't grow at all, and you get paid for 3 months, you've lost nothing. Like, I can apply for another corporate job, let's say. So I took it, and that was like a scary time in my life. And I went full time into running coaching from that day. And of the 30 people I was coaching, a couple of those people lost their jobs. So they stopped coaching, because running coaching, it's a luxury.
Yeah.
So
do you find the clients go up and down even today?
Definitely. Yeah. So, and at COVID, it was that times 10, because on one hand, you were getting people running for the first time. So looking to improve and looking for a running coach. So there's a lot more people running now, but people are wary. Like, they don't want to spend money because it's uncertain. And the biggest thing for me was that races weren't going ahead. And people get in touch with the coach mainly when they want to improve. And the way you can test that is with a race. Yeah. Like, the majority of people get in touch with me to say, like, Nick, I'm running London, or I'm running Manchester, or whatever the case is, or Berlin, and I'm targeting a sub 3 or sub 3:30.
So you were in London in 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, of course, yeah. This was all in London. I've been in London for the last 8.5 years.
Okay.
So anyways, yeah, this is now becoming a long-winded story, but I want to explain it properly. So for the first year that I went full-time, it was a struggle. So I think I had to almost, like, I had 30 clients. I had to get to like 60 clients to match my corporate salary, let's say.
Right.
So I was financially worse off, but I was like, it's been an amazing start. Like, imagine if I could focus full-time, what we could achieve.
But you could cover your rent and the basics.
Yeah. If I, like, thankfully, you know, I had a partner that was, you know, at a corporate doing well and stuff. So if it was by myself, I probably wouldn't be in this position, because I probably would have had to find a job, because a year is a long time. But I always had, like, I always believed, like, a part of me always believed. And at that time, I had I had a very small social media following. So I only started posting every day.
Well, this is the interesting thing that I'm finding out from you, is that it came from the business first. Yes. It was business first, then it was content.
Yeah. And it's so funny, because now in my world, content, I'm a runner at heart, and a performance runner, let's say. But content in my world is a lot more important, actually, than my performance running. I obviously want to be the best athlete I can, but I don't get paid prize money to run quick. I'm not at that level, but I get paid to make a YouTube video. So it's like, you got to kind of weigh up, like, you know, that puts a roof over your head, supports your family and stuff. So actually, that is now more important. Yeah. It's just been a shift over the last few years. It's still something I'm getting used to.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I didn't have a social media following, and I started posting every day on Instagram, and it was tricky. Like, your good mates support you, and then your mates that are a little bit uncertain, they're like, what are you, some sort of influencer now? And I mean, the whole world's an influencer now, let's say. But it was, like, still rare at the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's hard when you put yourself out there in the beginning as well. You know, like, you obviously see stuff all the time that you don't want to see, but you've got to be thick-skinned. But I think in the beginning it's even harder, because it's like, you've never put yourself out there, and it's uncomfortable. And I did that for, you know, I've been doing it ever since then, but for a year, and things were just, I was getting clients that were taking up running, but I was losing clients because they were losing their job, and there weren't any races. So it hovered around 30 clients for like a year. And then I got like a lucky break. I was doing like blog posts. I was working super hard, like blog posts all the time, educational content, stuff on my website now that a lot of people are reading now, but weren't reading back then because I didn't have credibility.
How are you learning what to post? Because you said like educational content. So like, were you working behind the scenes and researching what works, what doesn't?
Yeah. So I was like getting my gait analysis qualifications and getting more qualified, but I was also very in the loop, having been a sub 2:30 marathoner, with what works, what doesn't.
No, I'm saying, but in the content world. So like, what posts will work? Like, so, you know, you post that type of post, or were you not faced with that? Reels, really. Stills.
Do you know what? I always just tried to do two things. One, I always wanted to make it relatable for people, because a lot of people can't relate to a sub 3-minute kilometer, but a lot of people can relate to that feeling you feel, and it's like, oh, they didn't think quicker runners would feel the way that they feel as well. So I always wanted to keep it relatable, and I wanted to always, like, whenever I posted something, it was like with a mission to get someone to think twice about it. So like, you'd read it and you'd be like, oh, that's interesting. I haven't heard that before. I haven't thought of that before. And yeah, it's made me come up with some weird ideas at the time, but it was definitely like something that's helped and has helped me grow. And a lot of it's like, it's weird because I'm a running coach, I'm a content creator. When I'm not running, I'm talking about running, so it's all the time. But I actually don't follow that much other running content out there all the time. So a lot of my stuff, it's different to what you would hear or see normally, because I'm not picking up too many.
Which makes you unique though for the consumer.
Yeah. So one, I think it makes me unique, but two, sometimes it's can be a little bit controversial, because like, I'll say the way I feel and how it is, but there's maybe running theories out there that's not exactly like that. But I'm kind of like, let me stick with it. I know it works and stuff. So, I just roll with that.
And you mentioned that, everyone's a creator these days. Do you think there's still space for people to like evolve in the...
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think it's only going to trend and grow more.
Really?
And I think the more people that put themselves out there, the more channels that grow, the better for other channels.
Yeah.
Like, I'm in the YouTube space, and I think me having come in and I've grown the subscriber list and running videos, it's helping the other running creators get more views. So it's like, I encourage it.
Yeah. And was YouTube a bit of a struggle at first to get views, or did it just come off the back?
Definitely. It's almost like the same thing with the business. So just to go back to the business, I got lucky with two things. So at 30 clients after a year, I started looking for corporate jobs. I was actually...
so you were thinking about making another U-turn?
Yeah, I was. I'd given it a year, and I felt like I'd failed in a way. And I remember being at dinner with my wife, and I was in tears, and I was like, I believed so hard, but this is like the final straw. So yeah, I phoned up schools. I didn't want to go back into the corporate world, but I was like going to do like track coaching at schools, but like for minimum wage. And the one was like a 45-minute cycle away from me, but I was like, I almost committed to it. So it was like, I was desperate to keep trying, but I was like, I don't know what else to do. My Instagram following at the time was maybe like 3,500. I was a 2:30 marathoner. There's lots of 2:30 marathoners out there. I was writing blog posts that no one is reading. So it's tricky, right? You don't have credibility. You know what it's like. If you go on YouTube...
I know exactly what it's like.
If you go on YouTube and there's a probably good content, but it's got 15 views, you're not going to watch that thing. You're going to watch the video with 150,000 views because, there must be something about it.
How does that person with 15 views change that?
You just keep at it. So I got lucky in a way, but you make your own luck. So I coached two influencers that had a big reach at the time, maybe like 30 or 40,000 on Instagram, which was big. And that was by chance. I didn't offer them a discount or anything. They got in touch with me. They started improving and they started posting about it, and they had a big reach. Right. So honestly, it went from like 30 clients to like double, and then even triple. The applications were flying through. It was like the exponential effect. And I hadn't experienced that for years, so I didn't know what to do. I was like, this is crazy. And then, that was the first thing, was sort of those two influencers joined me. And then the second thing was that because I've been coaching people for a year, they really started improving. And it was like people could see there was proof in the methodology. And I could showcase that with testimonials and be like, I've coached this person for a year, check where they've come from. And that was like a real like spiral effect. Because there's proof that actually, it does work. And then
it's the same with content. If they produce content, when someone comes on your page and you've done 200 posts, you've got like authenticity. And when we do 100 podcasts, like, you've been around the block, so like you've got some experience, you must know what you're talking about. Like, it all plays a part. Definitely.
So you just got to grind with it and stick with it. Like, I think that almost signifies running in a way. Like, it's so hard in the beginning, but if you just stick with it, the gains come. And it's like that. I've used that mentality towards life and in the business and even in the content. So I started, in YouTube, and you monetize in your first month, you get like £2 that you can monetize, but it's like amazing. It's the best feeling ever. And then eventually a brand gets in touch with you. Like, it can be, the worst brand ever, but it's like, this is so cool. Like, I'm doing a brand deal and it's a sponsored type thing. And then it just exponentially grows. But I think the main thing is, so the number one thing I say to people that ask, like, how do you do it? How do you get into it? And this, I'm always like, just be yourself. Be yourself. Don't try to be someone else. If people want to follow you, they'll follow you. Make relatable, interesting, helpful content, but always be yourself, because if you're not yourself, it'll catch up to you eventually. So I get that not everyone can maybe do that, but I think that's the best chance of people getting good traction.
Yeah, it's inspirational to listen to you, because we sort of right there. we like right there, and I just believe that, there's a corner. And I keep telling the boys there's a corner and it's coming. We just keep grinding every week. And it's slowly coming. Like I said, we signed our first brand deal. So like, it's coming, but it's a grind. And it's hard when we're all doing a 9 to 5. So that's where I'm sort of struggling to find, not the balance. I enjoy it, so I love it. I got up in the mornings, trained for the triathlon, 9 to 5, got home. I whip out my laptop quicker than I say hello to my partner, and I'm on it, editing, podcast. So it's a passion. So it's not work, like you said earlier. So I'm coming home. I'm not working. I'm doing something I'm passionate about. And one day I believe that maybe I could turn that into a full time. I just don't know where we haven't really been able to work out where revenue would come. So I don't have like the coaching element or like being really good at something that I could teach someone else, or the podcast doesn't really have a revenue avenue. So I'm still learning those sort of revenues.
You'll work it out as you go along. I think there's lots of different opportunities. But yeah, it sounds to me like you're doing the right thing. The fact that you're passionate about it is huge. Like you need to, it doesn't feel like a job for you. And that's amazing. And a lot of the time, mine doesn't feel like a job for me either, which is great. But you might find that, you might do a bit more research, become more educated in coaching, start coaching people, be really good at that, enjoy it. And that might be a revenue. You might find that you get a couple of very informative guests that people want to listen to that start exponentially growing.
Yeah.
Because you've had that person, you can get a bigger ticket person, and so on and so forth. And then it's like exponential growth, right? That's the way these things work.
Yeah, they all say my belief has been the 100 and the 200. They say you got to get to the 200 podcast mark, and that's 4 years. You said you're 1% of podcasts that last that long.
Wow.
So if you just get there, you are 1% of the podcasts in the world that get to 200 episodes. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Like people now say, hold on, you've done 200 episodes. Like you must be someone that knows what they're talking about, very experienced, spoken to a lot of people. Like look at Chris Williamson. He was his first episode versus 700. It's a big jump.
Yeah.
But he's part of the 1% that got past 200.
Yeah. No, stick with it. It's like training. Like you'll it exponentially grows. And if you grow by 20% now, who's to say that you won't grow by 20% when your numbers are tenfold?
Yeah. Let's dive into the running.
Cool.
And a lot of my friends wanted to ask you a question because we do 5K PBs, and when we finish, we are dead. And I read an article about how when runners, in short distance, it's down to pain tolerance and mental sharpness to really get them over the line. Would you agree with that? Whereas longer distance is more strategic, outlined, pacing.
I would agree to that to an extent, for sure. Yeah. So let's say longer distance is more like calculated. So that's where, like, let's say half marathon, specifically marathon, and then even more so ultras.
Yeah.
You've got to get that fuel in right. You've got to get X amounts of carbs in an hour. You've got to give yourself the best chance at optimal performance. In a 5K, fueling is very important in the build up to it. But once you get going, it's like, there's no going back. It's whatever you set the tone in the beginning.
Yeah.
If you've gone out too hard, you'll pay for it. If you've left out too much, you won't make up for it in the end. So that comes with trial and error for sure. And each time you do it, one, you get more accustomed to the pain. Like it doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
You can handle it more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's that mental sharpness.
For sure. So like there's also a part to say that, so I've been doing a lot of 5K racing recently, and it's almost like it's great for content and great for the business, and I love doing it. I'm a big fan of racing, but I think like next week's 5K race I'm taking off just because to hit optimal performance levels, you've got to tap into so much mental energy that I'm standing at the start line like I was on Tuesday, and I ran 15:01, but I'm standing there thinking like, this is going to hurt. Like, I know what I'm about to put myself through. And you shouldn't have that mentality. You should be like,
oh, that's interesting.
Let's go for it. Like when the pain comes, I'm going to embrace it. But this one, because I've been racing so much, I'm like,
you're fatigued.
We're going to put the body through it again. But probably because I wasn't feeling 100% because I was fatigued from too much racing. I went to full send Saturday and then I went full send on Tuesday. So not much turnaround. Okay, I do big mileage and I've been running for a long time, so I do recover quickly. But to hit real optimal performance, you need to be like, you need to get to the start line hungry, and yes, it's going to hurt, but you're going to embrace it.
So what do you think about when you're in the pain cave in the last couple of kilometers? Do you have something that you turn to like motivate you?
I think I've prepared for that moment before the race starts, in a way. So I know how you should feel in the first kilometer, and it should feel relatively comfortable. And this last one didn't feel too comfortable, but if it doesn't, you're going to be in trouble later on. And I've probably done over, I don't know, maybe 200 5Ks to know like the motions that you go through. But yes, for sure. Like I think
a lot of experience.
Yeah. So when you get to that, let's say the real tough part is kilometer 3 to 4. And kilometer 4 to 5 is tough, but you can always find something more. But kilometer 3 to 4 is where I tend to lose a bit of time. Like 95% of 5K runners lose time in kilometer 3 to 4 because you're past halfway, you're hurting like hell, but you're not at the finish. So naturally you start fatiguing. And I think that's where you try and like save that mental energy and be like, this happened last time. Okay, now focus, concentrate, don't let it happen again. Like competition helps drive you. So at that stage, like try and overtake someone, try and get to that person. And then next thing you want 1K left. But mentally preparing before the race for that moment helps a lot. And yeah, I mean, when I have to dig really deep, you think about things that mean a lot to you, maybe people that aren't here anymore and stuff that would bring out the best in you.
Yeah.
But I would say in 5K races,
there's not enough time.
I don't go to that level, never really. Yeah, it's quick and it hurts. But in a marathon, it's like you're hurting for a long stage where you do need to draw on that emotional side.
Well, I've spoken to a lot of endurance athletes recently, and they talk about using gratitude, but we're talking like ultra endurance. So like Ironmans or 2-day, 3-day events. You use gratitude instead of that like boomer, like come on, pushing yourself, because that raises the heart rate. Like it's good for short distance, but if you use gratitude, and I've done it, it works. Like the blood comes over you, so like you get excited, but like in a much tame manner.
So you're controlling that adrenaline.
Yeah, exactly. And you're saying like I'm grateful to be out here and have legs and to be running and you think about your family. So like you control, but you still get like this pump.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it is. I got it from Ross Edgley, the swimmer. He spoke about it.
That's nice. Yeah.
And it works. It definitely works over the long distance. But over the short distance, you need to be like, come on, your fucking ass going.
Do what it takes. No, and you know what's like, it hurts so much. And I think that's what I've tried to show from my YouTube videos. And I think a lot of people watching it is like, I don't go to that level of pain. Like, obviously it takes a while to be able to do that. But I think it's helped people push harder, which is like, that's what you should be doing. So yeah, as long as you're prepared that it's brutal, but like it's always so worth it in the end. And the harder you push, the sweeter it is.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't feel like it at the time and your brain's screaming at you, like push even harder then because you'll thank yourself for it afterwards. It's such a short period.
Yeah.
Like what's 15 minutes of your day?
Yeah.
But in that moment, it's like, feels like it's a second, feels like hours.
So if you're running only 15 minutes a day, are you doing other training?
Yeah. Look, like I say, I get out for the physical and mental benefits a lot.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, because you're under pressure and you've done 205 Ks, how do you sort of tone down? What's your strategy, or what do you do as like a hobby to pull yourself out of that mindset and like tone down?
It's so funny. I actually, when I run, it's like my art from running in a way. So when I'm running easy, because I've been running for so long, consistently, let's say, that at maybe 4:10 or 4:15 a K, my heart rate averages like at 65% of heart rate max. So it's probably between 120 to 124. And I'm very comfortable at that. You know, the body's become accustomed to it. So it doesn't, like I can zone out completely. So when I'm doing my easy runs, I don't even know what planet I'm on sometimes.
So that's where you find your peace.
So that's where I find my peace for sure. So like I really go into a different world. I know in the beginning it wasn't like that at all, especially when running's very hard. And a lot of people are like, running's boring and stuff like that. But if I go for an hour and a half run, I've lost track of time. Like I don't even know where I am, and it's amazing. You come back feeling so good with the endorphin kick and stuff like that. So, but I think that's because you're comfortable. So it's almost like if I do a 5K race, I'm going to hurt for 15 minutes. I do, 45 minutes easy in the morning. That's like, I'm now relaxed and I've had that zone out time. But then in that 5K, I'm like, it's business time. Let's go for it.
I love that. I wanted to talk, you mentioned your heart rate. So I've been struggling with a bit of an elevated heart rate. Well, I think I have a problem. And I've been speaking to my coach because we're training for the full Ironman in September. And I have a coach, shout out Brendan Lombard. He's one of our friends and I've been loving it. But I did the Dorney Lake Triathlon last weekend. And my average heart rate for the swim was 175. I'm just telling you, I can't do that for the full Ironman. I'm going to burn out because then it just sits at 170 the whole race. And I'm finding my heart rate just higher than the person next to me. So when I go in that zone 2 run, it's at like 145, where the person next to me is 135. I'm just trying to figure out, have I got like just a faster beating heart and I shouldn't stress about it? This leads to my question, like what are your stats, like your resting heart rate? What's your VO2 max? Like what are you running at?
Yeah. Good luck for the full Ironman. You're a better person than I am. I think I'll take one day, but I'm not emotionally ready for that just yet. So.
I'll coach you.
For sure. Send me your details. But heart rate is very individual specific. That's one thing I've learned. Like obviously, there's like people say it's 220 less your age. Like that gives you an idea of what your max heart rate should be and so on and so forth. You can use it as an indicator, but like it can jump or it can be high or lower by 10 beats per person, or even 15, 20 beats per person, and they could be the same age. So it's very individual specific. Some people have a very low heart rate, some people have a very high heart rate, and I don't think that matters too much. But ideally what you want is you want your range to be as big as possible. So you want your heart rate load to come down as much as possible, and when you get fitter, it comes down. But you want to be able to hit that level at your heart rate high that you could when you weren't as fit. So if you're not as fit, it's much easier to spike your heart rate. When you're very fit, it's hard to really get. It takes a lot to get to that max heart rate.
Okay.
So,
and we're talking max heart rate, not like 175 threshold. We're talking at the top.
Yeah. But in your case, so if 175 is your swim, firstly, you have to be using an external heart rate monitor.
Oh, strap. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And you are.
Yeah.
Okay. So the heart rate monitors inside your watch, your wrist-based ones,
yeah,
they're deadly accurate when you're sitting down, and when you're sleeping, they're accurate. But as soon as you exercise, then they're not as accurate. So you need to be running with an external strap. And you're wearing a chest strap, so that's okay. So it's relatively accurate.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And what is your heart rate low you're resting when you sleep, and what's your heart rate high that you've pushed it in the last year?
So my resting heart rate 7-day average is 42, and I've definitely got up to 185 on some of the threshold running work recently.
Yeah. In threshold?
Yeah, 185. Yeah, I think I did my PB 5K. I don't know what my max was. I think I got it up to 190 maybe.
It sounds like you probably would get it up to 190.
Yeah.
Okay. So you wouldn't hit max heart rates in a threshold efforts. So if your thresholds, if you're hitting 185, you may be working a little bit too hard, but 190 probably sounds about right for you.
Okay.
And if you're at 190, which is your max, you probably should sit a little bit lower than 175 in the swim, or you're already over that sort of like your body's building lactate. You're over that lactate threshold. But in any case, so you want that range. You want your 42 to come down to 40, and you want to be able to still hit that 190. That's great. And you want to work out exactly, I'm sure, between you and your coach where you should be sitting for, the swim, the run, or the swim, the cycle, and the run. So in my case, I've got a very low, naturally, I've got quite a low heart rate, and I think it's from just years of training. So I've been training consistently for the last 12 years, but my resting heart rate's between 35 to 37. So it averages 36.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's at 37, it's on the higher end. If I'm very fit, like before a big race, and I'm start freshening up and get good sleep, then it goes down to 35. Then I'm like, cool, now I'm in shape.
Do you not worry about past that's like the hard stuff.
Every now and then every now and then
one has to check on you just in case you're
no, we want it to come down even
more. Really?
Yeah, but obviously the older you get, the more it drops as well. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. But the main thing is that I don't want to lose my heart rate max. So now my heart rate max, the highest I've got it to in the last year is 185, and the highest I've got it to in the last 6 months is 182, and that was in the 5K race 3 days ago. So my heart rate max at 182, it's not that high. So I think when people are watching my videos, they're like at 182, come on, I got mine to 190. Surely you can find a little bit more. But it's so individual specific, because mine, let's say mine compared to yours, my resting is 7 beats lower than yours, or 6 beats.
Yeah.
Then my 182 is your 186, or my 185 is your 191. So it actually is relative.
Yeah.
So it's all relative for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where mine's at.
It's interesting because you wouldn't be able to get your heart rate higher because you can't physically run faster than you do. So in what circumstance could you ever get it that high?
Yeah, you need to be very fresh to be able to hit desired levels.
Maybe if you sprint up Table Mountain. And
no, not even that, because it's too long. So you need to, you might get it close, or you might get to your max in something like 5 times 60-second hill sprints.
Okay.
Where you're sprinting up a hill. And really till the point of you cannot sprint any faster. It's weird. I've done a 3,000 meter track race and a few track races, but the highest I get mine is in a 5K race towards the end.
It's just excitement as well.
Yeah, and it's competition.
Competition, yeah.
So if I do a 5K time trial, I'll probably get 3 to 4 beats lower than what I will in competition. Just because even if I try and trick myself and pretend there's a dog chasing me, or your biggest competitors next to you, there's nothing quite like competition that drives you.
Yeah, that's what I miss. I miss the competition. I mean, that's why we do these triathlons and stuff, because we can't find the competition. We have these mundane office life, and we're trying to find outside of it. But let's dive into the coaching a little bit quickly.
Cool.
I'm not sure how we're doing for time.
That's fine.
Cool. But I wanted to ask you, so say I'm a client and I approach you, what's the first thing that you sort of look for, and what are the clients looking for? So when they come to you, is it mainly I want to improve my 5K PB, or is it mainly I want a healthier, better functioning life overall?
So runners and I think people in general are quite competitive. Everyone's got a competitive side to them. It just depends how much you want to tap into that, let's say. So generally, when someone sends an inquiry to me or gets in touch with me, it's because they want to improve and they want to hit a certain time, let's say. So like if you apply on my website, there's like a form you've got to fill in and it says like, what are your current PBs? What are your future goals and stuff like that. I'll then look at it and be like, okay, cool, Roscoe, you're at 20 minutes for 5K. You want to go sub 14? Like, let's wake up and smell the coffee. Like, let's rather aim for a sub 18 first, aim for the small wins, and then get there. So it's good to have big goals. And what I've noticed is lots of people have big goals that could be realistic, but you need to set like mini targets on route and you need to aim for like small win after small win. I started at 25 minutes for 5Ks. I'm now at 14 and a half. 14:34. I'd love to go sub 14:30, but like I was just aiming like it took me ages to get under 17, and then it was like 16:45, 16:30, sub 16, and then eventually sub 15. So it was like I never went at 25 to be like I want to go sub 15 or at that level. It's just small enough to small. So what I'm saying is like I think I look at what people are looking for, and then I try and sort of like if it's realistic and someone I feel like I can help and I can work with, then amazing. Okay, cool. If I've got availability. So that's the one thing. Is that
so will you push a client away if it just doesn't seem like the right fit?
Yeah, so there's other best athletics coaches.
Right.
But yeah, I don't take on everyone that applies. And I might be like, this coach is actually better suited towards you.
Right.
Especially when people are looking for like run and nutrition or something like that, then there's other coaches that are better. But
so you're more peak performance?
Not necessarily. No. I would say I'm more like my sweets. I do have athletes that are doing really well, which is amazing. But I coach athletes of all abilities. So I'm coaching athletes that are like 2:30 marathoners, or sub 15 and a half 5K runners. And then I'm coaching athletes that are like 4.5 hour marathoners, and maybe like 25-minute 5Ks or so. And it's just as rewarding in both cases. It's like you're seeing how much it means to this person. They've got a full-time job, they've got 3 kids, and they're still breaking 4 hours in the marathon, like incredible. Whereas, someone that's really focused on training and has a lot of raw natural talent and has been performance running for long, unlocking more performance, then it's rewarding. So it's sort of like, I don't have a set athlete that I coach, but a lot of people get in touch, one, to improve time-wise and hit their goals, but also two, to be part of the team and the community. And I think that's such a big thing because like I've got, PDF guides available, and I've coached a lot of coaches, I think, that have joined, and coaches are worried that they'll come in, learn the ways and teach it themselves. And I'm not worried about that at all, because I'm kind of like, I've been coaching some athletes since I started almost like 5 years ago, and a lot of them are still with me, and they've worked out the structure, right? The structure doesn't change, the session changes, but I think they're with me because of like the community, the maybe like the belief that I have in them and stuff like that. So there's so much more
camaraderie with everyone else in the group.
Yeah, so I think that's one thing if you go into coaching, is like, yes, your plan's important, but there's so much research out there that like a lot of plans work, but it's more about the community, how you can unlock that potential, how available you are as a coach, stuff like that, so how much you can unlock for them.
I love that. And you mentioned that these guys are coming and asking for such big, achievements, because we speak about it quite a lot, that social media has opened the eyes for people to see, and I initially was thinking people are now attempting these big challenges and marathons because they want to put it on social media. But I spoke to Dio, the guy that ran across Africa, Adidas runner, and he put it so beautifully. He was like, no, people are seeing what's achievable on social media now. So other people are achieving it and they're seeing that it can be done, so they want to do it. And he like flipped my mindset when he said that. I was like, that is what it is. So it's so unbelievable to see people chasing these big, results, because they can now see it. It's more visible that it's possible, basically.
For sure. You know what, with like everything on Strava these days and on Instagram and on YouTube, like it's so easy to compare yourself to others and see what other people are doing out there. And
Which also hurts. That hurts.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it's natural. Like you want to compare and you think like, we similar abilities, he did this session, I can do that session, I can do it a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And that can end up breaking you because it might not be the right session for you, and you get competitive, and once again it starts taking that enjoyment element out. So it's only naturally human to compare, but ultimately if you use that as fuel to be the best possible you that you can be, then incredible. And I think when it comes to goal setting, I always say like, be bold, but keep it realistic. Know that deep down inside you can achieve it. Otherwise, you're going to set yourself up for disappointment. And just aim for those small ones.
Yeah. Okay, let's come to just the final couple of questions.
Cool.
I just wanted to ask you, what's next for you? Because you mentioned that you want to tick away some times, 2:19, maybe lower. What's the next big Nick Bester target plan?
So I would love to break my 5K PB. It's so funny. I started with Comrades Marathon and now I'm attacking the 5K stuff. But I would love to go sub 14:30 in 5K. I said once I broke 2:20 in the marathon, like, I'm satisfied with life. Like, it meant so much to me.
Yeah.
It took me 7 attempts. It took me over 3 years. And when I finally did, I was like, everything from here on in is a bonus.
It's so unbelievable. That's just a couple of seconds and minutes is like years of practice and trying.
Yeah. It's crazy. And it's just the time, but it's so much more than just the time, because it's like, it's something that you set yourself for. And marathons, like, you can't just go for it. You have to go through the whole process again and stuff. But I loved it and it brought out the best of me, and I actually miss it in a way.
Did you try the same? Was it track? Did the track help? Because that was Berlin, I think.
Yes. So
it wasn't 7 attempts at Berlin.
No,
trying it.
No, just 3 attempts at Berlin and then at other places as well. So I want to go sub 14:30 and 5K, and then I want to go sub 30:30 and 10K. So I've got 30:46 for 10. So I've got about 16 seconds to find.
Yeah.
Then I've got a 66:17 half marathon. So I'd love to go sub 66. And then 2:19:45 my marathon, I'd love to go maybe like 2:18. So I still want to actually PB in all of those distances, but like just by, honestly, it's a few seconds. And then
crazy.
I always said that I'd make a return to Comrades one day. And I said maybe the 100th edition. So that's in exactly 2 years' time from now.
That'll be cool.
So that'll be cool. But people are getting ridiculously fast at Comrades as well. So when I go back to Comrades, I want to get a gold. Like, I want to try and get a top 10.
Maybe go back for the 100th Comrades.
Yeah, come join. Yeah. You know what? Everyone that I've mentioned that has done it before and thinking about it, they're like, the 100th one, let's do it.
Yeah.
So that's in 2 years' time. And that gives us a bit of time.
Okay.
There's a big chance I'll target that. But obviously, that'll be very different training to what I'm doing now. And you sacrifice your 5K speed and stuff like that. So I'll see.
I would love to dive into the technicals and the different
training. You've got to adjust your training for what your goal is. And also, I've got 2 kids, one's 4, one's 2. So for me to do comments now is too much of a big commitment. By that stage, they'll be 6 and 4. So hopefully it'll get a bit easier. But it's a lot more time on the legs. You need to rest, recover properly and stuff like that. So
yeah, that's interesting. Okay, the final question. We always ask our guests, put them on a bit of the spot. What's your sort of message to our community and to our people that are struggling to find their prime self at the moment and really lacking that motivation and inspiration to sort of get going and set these targets? What would you say to those people?
It's a great question, and motivation comes and goes. So like, some weeks I'm super motivated, and it's weird. Some weeks I lose motivation when you think I would be. Like, you crush a big goal and you think you'd be motivated, but you just hit rock bottom and you're just like, you can't explain it sometimes. But discipline is super key. So discipline gets you showing up even on those days when you're not motivated. So one, I would say, set out your weekly training. Obviously, if you really can't, don't do it. But if you're undecided, just getting out that door is the hardest part. Once you're out there, I promise you, you never regret it afterwards. So you feel so good afterwards. What helps me is today I'm hungover from the cricket. I'm like, I really don't feel like facing this. My sleep score was bad. I had too many beers, I got a headache. But I'm like, just think about that feeling that you feel afterwards. And that was enough to get me out the door. And then once I was out, I was okay. But I nearly didn't go out because I was like, you start getting inside your own head and feeling sorry for yourself. So don't overthink it. Think about that feeling afterwards. Discipline gets you out there. Motivation comes and goes. But Joff, there's one thing that you could take away from this is to make a conscious effort to snap out of your comfort zone twice a week. That's it. And if you do that, I promise you will improve going forward. It's not going to come overnight, but that's what I try to do every week, is I just try to snap out of that comfort zone twice a week, because it's so easy to run comfortably all the time. And I think a lot of people are doing that. And once you start snapping out of it, you'll see the gains, and then you'll realize how worth it actually is.
I love that. Beautiful. Beautifully said. What was your sleep score, by the way?
My sleep score was still 72, so it wasn't bad.
No, you and I are the same. I don't like it. It needs to be. I'm a good sleeper though, so I'm 94, 96.
Oh wow.
Every night. Yeah.
Unless
I ruin it, yeah.
7.5, 8 hours.
7.5, 8 hours.
Happy days.
Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you so much. I do want to ask the quick snip questions.
Sure, go for it. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into it. Rapid fire. So just keep them short, answer, sweet. First thing that comes to your mind. Okay. What's your go-to pre-run fuel?
Bagel with peanut butter and honey.
Okay, love that. Favorite park run track?
Dulwich.
Favorite race distance?
Marathon.
Ooh. If you had to choose one other sport to compete in, what would it be?
Golf.
Oh, nice. One supplement that you would keep if you had to remove all of them?
Recovery protein shake.
Nice. Thank you.
There we go.
I appreciate that chat. Thank you so much.
Awesome, buddy. Good to catch up with you.